You are now listening to the Artist King podcast.
This is DTM of DeltaTangoMike.com, and this is the Artist King podcast, episode number 92, featuring the artist interview with Andy Swartz, aka AL Swartz.
Well, initially my goal was like $1,500, and I forgot to factor in shipping. So I had to switch it. I think my original goal for the Major Arcana was like $5,000. I was like, there's no way that anyone is ever going to give me this much money. And I got funded in like 5 days. I couldn't believe it. Like, I literally cried.
Please take the time to download the Artist King podcast in your favorite platform and listen anytime. We would like to hear your opinions and suggestions, so please direct your comments to dtm@artistking.org. The Artist King podcast is available on your iPhone and iPad at the App Store, on Android, on iTunes, Spreaker.com, Stitcher Radio, and ArtistKingArchive.com, all links on ArtistKing.org. The Artist King podcast is made possible by the support of our sponsors. You can find them on the partners page at ArtistKing.org, and they include the law offices of Deborah Gonzalez, VelocityScreenprint.net, Southside Sickest, Mix Manny Beats, The Biz Garage, and AzeliaCreativeGroup.com. If you ask Andy about his art, you get this answer: Macabre Fantasy Wildlife Art, esoterically charged flora and fauna, drawing heavily on the themes of symbiotic relationships, the circle of life, and the classic concept of memento mori. If you ask me about Andy's art, then I will tell you that he is a detailed artist who can draw animals and things that look as real as life. The mastery of pencil, ink, and paint are what will attract you first into the scene. Then you will notice the skulls. My favorite part are the skulls. They are everywhere. Andy is in the first year in ATL, coming from Alabama, and he's making waves in the art world with 2 successful Kickstarter campaigns. Follow Andy on social medias and check out his website, skullgarden.net. Now on to our Artist King artist interview with Andy Swartz.
My name is Andy Swartz. Professionally, I go by AL Swartz. I'm originally from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and now I live in Sandy Springs, Georgia. So
Nice. How long you been in Atlanta?
like 3 weeks. Not very long.
What?
Yeah.
For real?
Yeah.
Wow. What made you make that move?
Well, I'm from Tuscaloosa, and I lived there for a long time, and I just kind of wanted to get out. Like, I didn't dislike the area. I just didn't really fit culturally. It didn't really. So my husband actually got a job in Peachtree Corners area. So I was just like, go for it. Let's do it. Let's go. Let's go to Atlanta. And I have a bunch of friends here, so it worked out. So
nice. So there was more opportunity.
Yeah.
And you want to refresh something fresh, and I got you. So what do you do? What do you do now?
Right now I've been doing a lot of drawing and inking, but I mean, historically I do mixed media paintings on wood panel. I use watered down acrylic, colored pencil, and gouache. And I draw right onto the wood panel. I usually use birch and maple, and I like poplar too. And I do my tones in pencil, and then I just layer colored pencil and watered down acrylic until I get, the sort of level of color and tones and stuff that I want. Then I finish with gouache. And then that's it.
And what kind of art is your theme? What kind of themes are running your art when you create that stuff?
When people ask, I like to call it Macabre Fantasy Wildlife. Because I don't really know.
Let me write that down. Macabre Fantasy Wildlife. All right. And, nice.
I like themes like symbiotic relationships, like spirals and circles and sort of relationships like that, like themes of life growing out of death and stuff, and I go by Skull Garden, so obviously I like skulls. I collect skulls and animal skulls and stuff, so I like to draw from them and then add other stuff to it. So it kind of has this still life quality, but they just sort of hang and float in nothingness. And
okay.
So.
And so let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
Because I love skulls, and I want to hear the story of how that even came into your type of art. But growing up, I'm sure, like a lot of us artists, we grew up drawing, we grew up around some kind of art material. Because all kindergarten kids color, right?
Yeah.
They kind of do that somehow. So I think that all humans somehow come across art at some point in their life. When did that happen to you? And do you remember the first thing you drew?
Well, like you said, all kids draw and stuff. I took some extracurricular type art classes at the University of Alabama when I was a kid, and
As a kid?
yeah, I mean it was like kids' summer stuff.
Okay.
I wasn't taking college courses, but like I've always really liked cartoons and stuff, and so I would try to draw cartoons and comics and stuff like that, and obviously it was terrible, but I didn't know, so I just kept going. And actually, when I was unpacking, I found a Tupperware container, like one of those big ones that you shove under the bed, that had drawn a heart with an arrow through. And just a couple of days ago, I'm working on a coloring book, I drew an anatomical heart with arrows through it, and I was like, well, at least I've stayed thematically similar throughout the years. But when I was like an older kid and like a teenager, my early teens, I didn't really draw anymore. I just kind of stopped, and then I started like watching anime and stuff, and I was like, this is awesome. I'm gonna draw anime. So I started doing terrible anime drawings, and still also didn't know that it was bad. So I just kept going until, one day they started getting not so bad. And yeah, I mean, I've always really liked animals and wildlife art and stuff like that. So when I got to in my like mid-20s, I started working on that stuff again. So
Is that growing up, because you grew up in Tuscaloosa?
yeah.
And that's in Alabama?
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't know why I think that's in Florida. Is there a lot of wildlife in that area? Are you close to city, country? What?
It's a sort of small, mid-sized city, like a college town. Not necessarily. My parents had these Guy Koliak paintings, and he's like this like realistic wildlife painter. So I grew up with those, and thought those were cool. And I've always just really liked animals. They're interesting and cool and fun and stuff. And I thought if I wasn't an artist, I'd probably be something like a vet tech or something like that. So
Nice. So you're a kid in middle school and you're drawing. You're going to a university for summer camp and drawing. Is that what's going on when you're a kid?
When I was, that was when I was, like 7, 8 in middle school. I didn't really do any art.
No.
So no.
What was what kind of stuff were you interested in then?
I did a lot of sports.
Okay.
And played a lot of video games, and that was about it. Really. So I did like choir and drama and stuff. So.
Okay. And so then in high school you come across anime. When did you come across anime?
I was probably 14, 15, 16, watching Adult Swim before I went to bed.
And then that sparked the whole drawing.
Yeah, it's just I hadn't really seen like animation and stuff like that before. And then I watched my first Miyazaki movie, and that kind of sparked.
Now your art does not look anime at all.
I know. It's when I tell people that, they're like looking at it, and it's just that's just how I got started again, because it seemed pretty simple. It was pretty simple for me to follow this sort of like half diamond shaped face with the chunky hair and the big eyes and stuff. So and then.
So did your teachers or parents or anyone in the community see your talent and say, hey, you should try drawing this, or you should take certain classes? Or
Oh, yeah. People always, like, if you like this, you should draw this, or wouldn't it be cool if you drew this, and stuff like that. So,
did you enter any, like, drawing classes or competitions?
No, I just did it for fun. And then when I got to be right about to graduate high school, I decided I wanted to go for like a fine arts degree.
Okay.
And I actually went to the Art Institute of Atlanta here for about 6 months in my early college days, and I hated it. Just because I didn't really like that formal arts education stuff, and it's very expensive. So I actually got my degree in art history, which I found to help me a lot more, like, the way I understand art and sort of like take it in and just it helped my understanding of creating art more than physical, technical stuff to learn. So
you got into the mindset of it, into how other artists think and their point in history.
Yeah, I just found it really interesting.
So did you finish school at Art Institute?
No, I actually finished my degree. I got my bachelor's at the University of Alabama. I moved back to Tuscaloosa.
Okay.
And then finished my college degree there.
All right, nice. And so did you get a job in Tuscaloosa in art after you came out of college, or what? What was the idea?
No, I did not.
What was the plan?
After I graduated, right when I graduated, there was a tornado that came through town, and and it kind of demolished like half of the town, and so that whole thing was going on, and then I tried getting desk jobs, and I even tried getting a job at a vet because I had experience working with animals and stuff. So just cleaning up after dogs. Couldn't find any job doing anything. So I just started doing art and started selling it, and then started selling a little more.
Right.
And then
you did that on the side while getting a job, while keeping a job somewhere, or a combination.
That's just what I was doing. I mean, I had to move back in with my parents, which was a pretty big hit to my pride and stuff. I just kept doing that, and someone told me about Kickstarter, and so I was just like, that sounds cool. I'll come up with a project, and I'm going to do a tarot deck, because that sounds like a good illustration project that someone like me would do, and then it's just been take off from there, and it's just been gaining momentum, and just spreading out, working on new stuff since then. So I mean, I never had a commercial art job. I've never worked with anyone really other than me, and private client work and stuff. Done a lot of commissions. So
yeah. So all right. So how did you start that selling artwork? Did it occur to you that you could sell some art, or were people already buying art, and how much for that? What was that process like? Before you actually took off with it?
I did a lot of I would sell commissions on Gaia Online, the website. And I did that, and I did Neopets commissions. It was just little stuff like that. And then I started doing
So you searched around and see where could I sell some of my art? Is that what you're thinking?
Well, I
post some of it.
I was using these websites anyway, and I saw that people were doing minor commissions type stuff. So, and then Live Journal, I would do stuff like that, and DeviantArt.
Yes.
And then I started doing these small arts and craft fairs type things, just for a day or two. Set up a table and do stuff like that. I did some conventions, stuff like that. So, and I still am really into the arts and crafts fair circuit. So yeah.
And that's what. So I want to know if we can pinpoint the process in your head where you think to yourself, you know what, I'm tired of working. I don't need to make whatever the minimum wage is at some job. I could probably sell 2 or 3 of these things and pay my bills for the week or the month. Is that something that happens or in your mind, or is that something, or it kind of slowly builds up to where let's do a convention. I have art to put up.
I don't know. I don't know if I really have a good answer for that. When I listen to other artists talk, they have this very clear plan, and they're very focused, and I'm a little embarrassed to say, but I kind of just wing it. In the Hobbit movie, when they're in the mines and they're in the mine cart, and it's going crazy and all this stuff has happened, and they exit unscathed. That's pretty much how I treat my life and my career. Just kind of go for it. It's just I want to do this, so I go and do it. And I want to get into 10 shows this year, or 20 art festivals this year. So I just kind of put out all my applications, and I submit to galleries, and then what I get into, and what I don't, and I just move forward with what I have. So
just jump in.
That's
it. Okay. If that works. If that works, that works.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who brought up the idea of Kickstarter, or is that something in your mind? And right now,